I'm Nick, and in this video, I'm doing some sound deadening and interior work on my 1966 Thunderbird project. So my goal for today is to have the firewall sound deadened and have the heater and AC box back in this car. First thing I'm gonna be using is this Silless Sound deadening foil-backed butyl-based mat. This is their thickest version of this product. It's 120 mil thick, which is fairly thick for this style of product. This is $65 for 30 square feet, which makes it one of the best value for this type of product. By applying a product like this to a panel, what you do is you take the panel and you add a lot of mass and thickness to it. Now, this product is not extremely heavy. It will add a little bit of weight to the vehicle, but what products like this, Dynamat, other similar products do is they take the panel, they make it thicker, and when you make it thicker and you add mass to it, you lower the resonant frequency of the panel. The other product I'm going to be using is this OEM style jute-backed rubber mat. Now this doesn't have a ton of sound deadening property to it. It will absorb a little bit, but part of what this does is it really seals everything. And the factory AC box actually mounts on this side of the panel, so this is between the AC and heater boxes and the firewall in a factory configuration, and I wanted to maintain that and not have any depth or thickness related problems when I'm putting everything back together. You can find these types of panels for most classic vehicles that you would be restoring. There are a few where they're not available in a direct fit and you would have to get a universal piece and fabricate your own. Looking inside the car, you can see I've pulled all the old sound deadening off of the firewall. I still have some on the floor below where I'm going to be working today. This is what the old insulation and rubber padding looked like. It's humidity soaked and honestly probably soaked with whatever rats produce. So I'm going to be working this new pad in. I'm going to try not to cut it. I'm going to work this new pad in and see how far I get today. Ultimately, I've got this air conditioning box, this heater box that I'd like to have in the car by the end of the day. So first thing I did is I came in here and I vacuumed out my work area a little bit just to make it nicer to work in here. So much rat crap and nastiness. So let's talk about applying the Silless or Dynamat style product. First thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to come in here and you're going to want to identify where you're going to be applying it, right? Most important is large flat surfaces. Areas where there are curves, these are more rigid because they have a shape and they naturally transfer less sound than the middle of a panel. I don't know if you can hear that difference. A large flat area is going to transfer a lot more sound than an area with a lot of shape. You can kind of hear the sound change as I move around. So that's one of the first things to consider. Second thing to consider is surface preparation. Your surface needs to be clean for this stuff to stick well. You're trying to stick it to the paint and or metal. You're not trying to stick it to whatever crap this is all over this. So as much as this is going to really suck, I'm going to get in here. I'm going to clean up some of this with a nylon brush on my drill, and then I'm going to get in here and I'm going to wipe this all down with alcohol. I highly recommend you to wear a mask while you're working on stuff like this. All right, so with the worst of it knocked down with the wire brush, I'm coming in here with some wipes, and I'm going to wipe off. These are actually some paint prep wipes. Bought them at Home Depot. They're a Crocodile brand. They say that they're for paint prep and cleanup. I've been using them on door panels and some other stuff that I've painted, and they have not seemed to affect adhesion. If anything, they've definitely helped clean some stuff up. So my goal for this is not really perfection. It's just decency. You can see there's some rust and some crustiness. So before I put the sound deadening in, I think I'm going to hit this with some fast drying self-etch primer. Probably hit most of this in here and let that convert some of this rust and just help keep the rust from spreading. All right, I got some self-etching primer. I'm just going to hit some of these rusty areas with it. Maybe. Okay, this can is dead. I'm not going to be doing that. All right, I've got some Rust-Oleum rust reformer. I'm going to come in here and just I'm gonna let that have a few minutes to dry. And after it's dry, I am going to start applying some sound deadener. So come in here. And the first thing I'm gonna do, and turns out my paint is still very soft. All right, so before I go much further with this, I want to show you just what a difference this sound deadening product can actually make. So I have a can of acetone. It's about probably this full. And this can, it's just a metal can. It sounds very tinny. We'll take a piece of the sound deadening, and real quick, I'm going to approximate the size that I need. First, I scored it. I'm going to fold it. I'm going to come to the back side. I'm going to score it again on the back side. And then from there, it tears apart relatively well. I found that it was gumming up my knives, so I don't really want to do that. So not too bad. I haven't even prepped this piece. That's before. Stick it on there. Before I've even really properly rolled it on. You hear the difference? I don't think this is going to make a huge difference, but you're supposed to roll this stuff on pretty well. So with this rolled on pretty well, huge difference. Actually, this side's also a lot quieter than before. Just for having that on there, it dampens the resonance of this entire piece. So getting back into the car, you can see I've got reasonably good coverage. It's not 100%, but I wasn't going for that. I'd call this, I don't know, 70% coverage, something like that. Pretty happy with that. So now that it's in place, it's stuck on, we have to make sure it adheres really well to get maximum benefit and to make sure it doesn't fall off. So we're going to use a rolling tool like this, and we're going to really press it in place everywhere. I've got quite a bit of this ahead of me, so I'm going to keep going on this, and then we'll work on installing the actual cover. All right, when you get done rolling, it should look something like this. You can see the texture is a lot less present. That little raised bump texture, it's all smashed down. I spent probably 40 minutes doing that. Probably should go over it one more time. Maybe I'll do that. Okay, so I've got the pad laid out under where it belongs in the car. So there's a couple things we're gonna have to do. We're gonna have to be fishing a little bit. This big hole is where the steering column goes. Now it would be pretty difficult to remove the column, so we're gonna try to do this without removing it. We're gonna have to fish it through over the column. That may not be possible. We're gonna try to fish it over the column, see if we get stuck. We're gonna have to take the speedometer cable and fish it through this hole here. And this big plate at the back of the steering column is gonna have to be fished through it. So I'm gonna start fishing and we'll see how it goes. This has been quite the fishing trip. But I got it past everything. Seems good. These are the little clips that I'm going to be using to hold it on. I think, yeah. So I'm going to clip it in a few places and double check which other holes are for clips and which holes are for bolts. You know, I almost didn't buy and put one of these in, but now I'm quite glad that I did. This definitely looks a lot better having it than not. So this is the air conditioning assembly apparatus, and it's heavy. And I'm gonna have to somehow get it up in there and hold it up there while I get on the hood, get under the hood, and put some nuts on these studs. So I guess we're about to figure that out right. So the first of the two boxes is in there. So under the hood, you can see the blower motors coming out again. So there are 3 studs around the blower motor and 2 studs over there by all the air conditioning stuff. And so I've got the nut started on all of these studs, and I'm just gonna come in here and start gently snugging down. Well, that looks a little different there. There's all kinds of stuff left to do here. I got wires to tidy up and stuff, but I'm hoping to put the dash in this weekend, in the next few days. That would be a major, major accomplishment. All right, guys, well, that was really my goal for the day, is to get the sound deadening on the firewall done, get that new pad on it, and get the AC and heater box reinstalled. I'm gonna try to find a new heater core, or at least test that this one doesn't leak before I throw it back in. And there's probably a couple other things that I should do to finesse before the dash goes in, but I'm hoping to put the dash in the next week, maybe this weekend. And you'll be sure to see that here on the Lug Nut Lang channel. If you enjoyed this video, if you want to see any more like how-to, or if you have anything else you'd like me to show you on this car, like, subscribe, comment. I try to reply to every comment, so thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this.